Most founders don't own a business. They're trapped by it and the chaos and the confusion that goes on within it as they scale. Today, I'm joined by Jason Green, a former founder, and now he's an EOS implementer. He's going to take us through what he used, what the strategies he did were, and how he went from chaos to a really organized business that performs for him.
Jason, what's the moment that people realize they're trapped in their own business?
It's a bit like a plane crash. There's no one thing that causes a plane crash.
Yeah.
It's a sequence of events
Okay.
that causes, a plane crash. This one. And I think it's the same thing in business. And I think part of that is a bit of self-awareness, self-discovery, realizing that doing the same thing, who is it? Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So I think there's that realization that what you're doing over and over again isn't working, and that just feeling of being stuck. And so it's a number of individual small things that lead up to, I guess, a moment of realization.
Cool. Okay. So today we're going to go through the EOS kind of system.
Yep.
But before we do that, what did your life look like before EOS?
Yeah. So how far do you want to get back?
Right to the start.
Right.
We've got loads of time. Right? Just intrigued because obviously you've founded businesses before,
Yep.
and just intrigued on what that journey looked like, really.
Yeah. So I've been in tech my whole life, actually, apart from my last sort of 7 or 8 years when I've been doing EOS, but I've been in technology. I grew up with most of the viewers won't know this, a little computer called a ZX81, which had 1K
Class.
1K of RAM, and it set me on a journey of being in technology. So, and I think I was fairly lucky that, it was sort of at the right time. And so I've been a co-founder and run a few companies. I won't go through all of them, but couple of that, or three of them that had a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes in there, and also a bit of success as well. So my first one we co-founded was a company providing financial information on the internet in the mid-90s. So this was when you had to dial up to the internet. Remember those old fax noises that dial up used to make. And we decided that we were going to collect information from the emerging markets. So we were like a Reuters or Bloomberg's, but we were in Eastern Europe, China, India, Latin America. And the value that we brought was we were collecting all this financial information for the financial markets. And that was a really fun journey. We were young. We were riding a wave of enthusiasm, and we were just in the right place at the right time. And so I don't think we knew how to run a business. We certainly didn't run the business very well, but we were lucky.
Yeah.
And I think, you get businesses that, just get lucky, right place, right time, right people, and everything just goes great. And we ran that. I was with that business for about 5 years, and we grew it from, about 5 of us that started it to 250 people. Wow. And we sold it to Euromoney. And so that was great. That was a great journey, but probably didn't learn.
Because everything worked.
Because everything was just so easy. We just found people, and it's quite easy. So obviously, coming out of that, we had a lot of confidence, and we thought, what, we could take over the world.
Yeah.
So I got together with a few people from that company, and based in San Francisco, and we set up a software business, software as a service. Is that what it's called now?
Yeah,
SaaS,
isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't called software. It was called like application service provider or something back then. And we were like, we can take over the world. So we raised a bunch of money, raised about $5 million, built this software, didn't sell it to anyone. No one would buy it. It was a great piece of software. It was procurement software. So it was about helping procurement departments go through the RFP and tender process and selecting a vendor, and doing that all transparently and with a sort of bit of science and maths around it.
Who'd wonder the tender process to make it transparent didn't work? I mean,
Well, exactly. We were naive.
Yeah.
We were naive and very confident, like I said, because we just had a load of success. So we burnt through that money.
yeah, $5 million.
Oh my God, crazy. And that was really painful. We were 20 years before our time. We didn't bring the right people on. And it was a show.
Yeah.
Really. And we persevered way too long.
For longer than you probably should.
Way too long. I mean, at the end, we had no money. We weren't paying anyone. We were all losing money. It was just, And when we actually closed it down, I think that was a pretty low point, because we'd come from this real high.
Yeah, with the same people on both.
Not the same people, but a few people from.
So you'd all kind of been through.
We'd all been through that great journey. So we all thought we knew it. We thought we knew everything.
The untouchables.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like crushing. The failure we felt it so acutely.
Do you think that was just wrong product, wrong time? So you were right time, right product, and everything the first time,
Yep.
and then it was the complete opposite.
Right product, right time, right people, and then wrong product, wrong time, wrong people.
I suppose it's crazy, isn't it? Like something so simple, and you end up with opposite spectrums. Like if you've done it once, why is it not repeatable?
Why can't you repeat it? Yeah. So we all sort of skunked away with our tail between our legs, and I guess I had a few years in the wilderness.
Right. Okay.
I think you can call it, where I didn't know what
to do,
what I was going to do. I even went traveling around Africa for a few months
just to try and
what's going to happen, and eventually I met up with a couple of people that I thought would be great business partners. We'll come back to thought would be great business partners later.
Yeah.
And started an IT managed service company, which is fairly straightforward business, providing an outsourced IT department for companies with about 20 to 80 staff.
Okay.
And so that started off really well. The first couple of years were pretty easy. We had some great people. We were winning clients. But after we got to about 10, 15 people in the company, it was the wheels started to come off. And so we were growing, like revenue was okay, and we were growing, and the team was growing, but it was just chaos, and we weren't providing a great service to our clients.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what that's why you get out of bed in the morning. You want to deliver value to people. So we weren't delivering the value we should have been doing. I was frustrated with my staff because they weren't doing what I thought they should be doing. Profit was literally non-existent. I always say revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity.
Yeah.
And I was just I was spiraling. I mean, personally, I was spiraling under this pressure.
Yeah.
And my kids were young, so my home life was suffering, and I don't think I really realized how much strain that was putting on me and my family and my friends and people around me. And so that was tough, and I tried lots of stuff. I tried throwing marketing money at it. I tried, having a coach for myself. I tried, using HR people to try and get better people. and nothing worked.
Do you think that's you didn't quite pinpoint why it wasn't working, so you just thought, well, maybe it's sales, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's staff, maybe it's this, and you just, instead of going in with a plan and stepping back for a minute and saying, actually, where's the pain, you just guessed.
Yeah. I was throwing mud at the wall.
Yeah, just
and seeing what would stick, and everybody was getting pissed off with me because 1 month I would be going, we're doing this. We're gonna try this marketing activity. Next month we're gonna put I forget what it was. It was like a ITLS or something. It was a framework for providing better service to a client. So I go, we're gonna get someone in. We're gonna do this, and then the next one I would go, okay, we're gonna go on an away day, and we're gonna do some trust building.
It's like just trying to find anything.
And they were like, why are you spending all this money? We haven't even got any money.
Got any money and you're spending it.
And you're spending it on all this.
Yeah.
All this.
So what, I suppose, when did you realise that couldn't continue?
So, I mean, it was getting pretty desperate. The business was, getting pretty, but I personally was getting quite desperate. And through a series of events, and like it's going back to this, it wasn't one thing that made me realize that I had to try something completely different. And I think going back to what you're saying is going back to something, the root cause of the issues. And so, very quick story, went to a industry event. I don't know. I think it was Olympia, something like that. Saw a company that provided software for IT managed service provider companies. They said, this was at a time when people were splurging money. He goes, obviously they wanted my business, so they said, oh, we'll fly you over to Florida for a big event called IT Nation. So I was like, yeah, of course, I'll go. I'm going to buy this anyway. Yeah. I'd sort of already sold it. So I went over there and saw Patrick Lencioni. I don't know if you know Patrick Lencioni. He talks about ideal team players and the 5 dysfunctions of a team. If anybody hasn't read Patrick Lencioni's books, gotta read his books.
Yeah,
unbelievable. All of them are great. So he was on stage, keynote speaker. Then I saw this other guy in a seminar talking about how IT services could move from sort of commoditized to value-driven businesses. And I sort of stood at the back. There was hundreds of people in there. I was like, this guy is just basically talking to all my problems. And he basically, I ended up in his cohort, which really helped. But in his cohort, they kept talking about this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. I was like, got to read this book. And so got the book, literally devoured it in like a day or two. And the realization of all the things that I hadn't been doing in my business. And ultimately, all the problems in the business it wasn't my people. It wasn't marketing. It wasn't, systems and processes. It was me.
Yeah.
I mean, none of them knew where we were going. So, how could they make any decisions? None of them knew what their priorities were every week, every quarter. And we were just this dysfunctional team of individuals that had no direction and no discipline. And it all filtered down
to you
from me. I was the common.
Isn't it crazy though that all of that came from you thinking, I'll just go for a little jolly to Orlando for the week?
Yeah. And so I feel quite lucky and blessed that, and I think this comes down to everything in business. My one piece of, not one, but a piece of advice is you just got to get out behind of your desk, and go and meet and talk to people. And I wasn't doing enough of that either, because when you get out behind your desk, get out behind LinkedIn and emails and all the stuff that can distract you, and you talk to people, that's when ideas happen.
Yeah.
And that's when serendipity happens. It's like making your own luck, isn't it? You've got to make your own luck.
Yeah. Luckiest people in the world are the ones that work the hardest and put themselves out there.
Put themselves out there. So, I mean, I feel sort of blessed that I read Traction.
Yeah.
And it changed my life.
Awesome. If we take a step back, you mentioned that it was 10 to 15 employees, which is kind of where you were.
Yeah.
To me, that's the really tough bit.
Yeah.
Because when you get to 20, 30 staff, you've got middle management.
Yeah.
And then you have to team leaders, and to a certain extent, the delegation kind of works. I found when we were at 10 to 15 staff, we were at such a flat organisation that everything ran through me at the time, and I presume probably you. So you end up in this bottleneck situation. Is that where you were? Like, were you just causing an issue constantly without meaning to?
Yes, yeah. I think that is the sort of tipping point, 10, 15. Because before that, it's all your sort of small, close knit team, and as the founder or owner, you know everything.
Yeah.
That is going on in the business, and that's really quite easy. And so you're probably a little bit more difficult today because lots of businesses are more distributed, and they're not all in the office. But if you're all in an office, you hear what's going on.
You see it all the time.
Yeah, you quickly. But it's not sustainable because you're not giving agency to people.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're making they're coming to you, and you're making all the decisions. And so that when you get to 10, 15 people and you try and stay in control of everything, and I think lots of founders, we're all control freaks, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%.
We want to know everything.
You want to know everything that's going on because it's your baby.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally, you've grown it from this big, and probably at that stage you still know most of the customers, depending on what industry you're in. But
often
especially
especially the big ones. You know the ones
business.
That,
I knew every customer till probably 25, 30 staff.
Yeah,
and I don't know any now.
Right,
we've got 6,500 customers that we've got, and I still know my handful from the start.
From the start.
And like one text.
Do they ever message you? Or?
Yeah, they still like Martin texted me yesterday. Oh, I've got this problem, and I was like, "Sound mate," and then I messages on to someone else to fix it because I can't fix it. But so those they're still there. But then I think you have to grow up eventually, and you have to let go a little bit, and that's a really
how tempted were you to answer the question or
yeah, thankfully I was driving at the time, so it kind of popped up and then it read it to me.
Yeah,
and I thought, well, I can't do that right now.
Right. Yeah,
there was always a temptation.
Yeah, you always get that sort of moment.
I can't literally log in and fix that in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but I really shouldn't, because it's like further down the chain, and you've got to give people responsibility.
Exactly.
To do it.
It's going to do more harm.
Yeah, but he was like asking me questions like, "Why are we doing this?" I don't know. Like, if you're not spoke to your account manager, well, they must have arranged this for you. I don't remember doing that, and I'm like, I historically would have known, and I don't know, and it is a really hard one letting go. But you kind of have to in order to scale. But I think going from 15 to 20. That extra 5 staff is just a cost to the business, because you've got to break through the middle management then.
Yes.
Where it's maybe not profitable, it's not efficient. Mm-hmm. But if you want to grow further, you have to suffer.
But I think you can look at it the other way around. Those sort of 3 to 5 staff that help you build your leadership team. They have a cost, but how much is it costing the business not having them and trying to hold on to everything, being the bottleneck for everything? So that I think the cost is 10x.
Yeah, if you can't scale because everything comes to you. Like, I remember it used to be like, John, what's happening here? Oh yeah, I'll do that tonight. I'll do that tonight. I'll do that tonight. And then the following day, be like, did you get that done? No, mate. No. Like, I did this and this. But you had 12 things you said you'd do. Well, I only did 2. Yeah. And it was that constant. And then the staff get frustrated because they're waiting for something from you.
Exactly.
And it's just a tough cycle. I suspect a lot of business owners sit in.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard to get out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, you did a great job. I mean,
we were lucky though, because we've grown via acquisition.
Right.
So we've gone from say 15 to 25 staff in an acquisition, we've added 10 in.
Yeah.
So instead of hiring and recruiting and it being quite a slow journey,
Yeah.
it's like happened overnight. And then we went from like 25 to 45.
Right.
And then like 45, I think we're now at 77.
Right.
And that growth happened
So you
in
had
a year.
to.
So we had to.
You were sort of forced
Yeah.
into.
And we kind of inherited leaders and management that we could then go, right, well, you can now work across the group. And so in a weird way, I kind of shortcut it.
Yeah.
Like we went from 20 to 77 staff in 9 months.
Right, okay.
Which is,
Yeah,
if we'd recruited that, it would have been absolute carnage.
Yes, yeah.
But because we managed to effectively bolt them in.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we've got...
And
we've got
you're
sales.
buying revenue.
Yeah, you're buying revenue in, you're
yeah.
buying profit in,
Yeah.
and you're buying the staff in.
Yeah.
So instead of it being a slow, gradual curve where you've got to recruit and
Yeah.
are you recruiting ahead of the curve or are you recruiting behind the curve? Like
Yeah.
when do you need them?
Yeah.
We kind of benefited from not having to do that. It came with its own chaos. There's
Yes,
no doubt
yeah.
about it. But the at least from a bottleneck perspective, and it's still there. You know, it's maybe not me, and now I think Simon struggles as much because I've passed it all to him,
Yeah.
and then he's now trying to delegate further down the chain again. So it's not perfect, but yeah, we maybe skirted round it a little bit to try and survive. But I certainly remember at 10 or 15 staff how utterly chaotic and painful it was
Yes,
all of the time.
yeah.
Like, there was just no doubt about it.
And was it like me? Was it your own
Yeah,
doing?
100%. It was me because I wouldn't let go.
Yeah.
And you know, I wanted to see the quotes that were going out. I wanted to sell
To make sure they were at a certain standard.
I wanted to go and see the installations or do the installations
Yep.
myself. I wanted to, like, all of the bits that relatively didn't need me as an owner doing.
Yep.
I don't want to say it's low value, but when you can pay someone else to do it, if you're dealing with £1,000 an hour tasks, and that's a £25 an hour task.
Yeah.
You need to pay someone 25 quid an hour because you need to put your time onto something that's worthwhile.
Exactly.
But that's much easier said than done in a small business.
Yeah.
I think we can all sit there and go, oh, well, you know, work on the business. Don't work in it. Step
Yeah.
back and work on it.
Yeah.
It's taken me 27 acquisitions to get to the point where I can now work on it.
Yeah.
And not in it every day. And so, like, it sounds great when a guru says it. The practicality of implementing
Actually doing it is really
tough.
was a huge mindset
Yeah.
change.
And I still have control of the finances.
Yeah.
Because it's my baby.
Yeah.
You know, every pound in that bank account kind of is mine.
Yeah.
And I still don't really want to let go. I am letting go and we are getting there.
Yeah.
But everything else I have managed to get rid of. But it's been a tough journey. Like you have to
Yeah, I mean,
just learn.
well, first of all, we sort of, I think a lot. I mean, certainly me. I'm speaking for myself. You know, you quite like the chaos.
Yeah, I love the chaos
as well. You know, it's energizing and it's so there is that real challenge to go. Okay, well, I know I shouldn't be doing this.
But I enjoy
we
it.
know. Yeah, but you know, you like being busy. We like being a bit chaotic, and so that journey is really tough. And also, it's a different skill set. Yeah. You know, I don't know what's your business?
So telecoms and IT.
Okay, so we're in a similar
sector. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I grew up. You know, when I left university, we're doing things, fixing things, installing things, and so if you come from that sort of background, it's instinctive to be a hero and fix everything, and so changing your mindset, it's so hard. And what's interesting now, I don't miss it anymore. There was a period of time when it really used to. I really wanted to fix things and install servers and do that sort of stuff. I don't go anywhere near technology.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit of a technology Luddite now, to be honest. 7 years.
Give me that Nokia 3310. I'm quite happy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's you can change, but you have to want to change, don't you? You have to want it.
When you went from massive success to the kind of the failure, the second one, what was the gap of time in between?
From
like exit, to then starting again.
A couple of years. It wasn't very long.
What did you do in that period?
So I just did a bit of consulting, and took some time out. Spent too much of the money there.
And then realised you might have to save some.
Then I thought, well, you know what, I'm gonna better start earning some money again. So yeah, spent too much money. So not much. You know, just kept in with IT, did some consulting, and it was, you know, once again just getting out there and seeing my old colleagues from the previous business.
It just
and we you know, we came up with this idea, and we thought, you know what, let's just run with it. Some of them had some contacts in America. So I went over there for a bit, and yeah, it was backwards and forwards.
Okay.
And so yeah, not a long time.
And then from the second one, obviously failing.
Yeah.
So then
that was also a couple years, but that was spending more time being depressed.
So it's kind of licking your wounds.
Yeah. rather, yeah. The other one was quite a positive. Couple of years. The second one was pretty. Yeah, I mean, I did go away, and like I said, I went to Africa for a few months, which was great. But it really was like, what?
Spend a lot of time.
What's next?
Reflecting.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not sure reflecting back then. I think it was wallowing in self pity. I think that's more.
I just. Like, a lot of what I've done is obviously insolvency,
right?
And like the stress stuff, and that's kind of my bag. Like businesses are failing, I'll go in and buy them. For not a lot of money, and I'll try and fix them again. So I see founders that have failed or are in the process of failing, and sometimes it's really difficult to kind of say to them, look, there is light at the end of the tunnel here. Like, there will be another tomorrow.
Yeah, but you don't see it.
They don't see it at that point in time.
So
I mean, hence why I just wanted to know, like, what that gap was. Like, was it a month or was it?
No, I mean, a month would never have been enough time.
Yeah.
To sort of go. It's a grieving process.
You've lost your baby.
Yeah. I mean, you've built something. You think it's going to be super successful. You get out there. You're telling everyone about it. No one buys it, and you're like, you know, you spent other people's money, as well. You know, I mean, obviously, I put money in as well, but you know, you spend other people's money as well, and so this feeling of regret, and you know, it just didn't sit. Doesn't, you know, especially when you're spending someone else's money, it just doesn't sit well.
Yeah, that you've lost
with you. You've lost their money. Yeah. You know, not for. Because we weren't trying and we didn't put enough effort in, but we just failed.
Where does that self-confidence come from? Like, it comes across like you even now still believed in that product.
It was a great product.
Just no one bought it.
No one bought it.
But where does that?
Which obviously means it wasn't.
Yeah, it can't have been that good in hindsight. Maybe not. But where does like that self-determination and drive come from in you? Have you had that since you were a kid, or is that something that you've discovered later in life?
I think that's great. That's a great question. Great question, because not everybody has that drive, do they?
No.
And that used to frustrate me about some of my stuff as well. Whereas, but you don't want everybody to. Also, you don't want everybody.
I mean, life taught me that you don't. Frankly, you don't want everyone.
No, you need a combination.
You need a combination.
Yeah, exactly. But where does that come from? I mean, that's just such a great question. I think probably from my father.
Okay.
Yeah, my father, he passed away a couple of years ago. He was a hairdresser. He was quite, you know, not super successful, but he was successful as a hairdresser. Gave me and my sister a great and my mum a great life, but I you know, his work ethic, I think, and he was quite innovative in hairdressing.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly when it'd be his 70s or 80s. He went. I think we went to America on a trip, and he saw how Afro the Black Americans were, how much money they were spending on their hair.
Yeah.
You know, I think straightening it and other things. And so he came back to London. He had a couple of hair salons, And he goes, you know what? I think I want a piece of this. I want a piece of this. So he put an advert in the window for an Afro hairstylist, and lo and behold, this he's told me this story many times. This beautiful woman, Grace, walks in and goes, "I'm an Afro hairstylist," and he had a this was probably 70s, 80s. He had a mixed salon doing European hair and Afro hair in the 70s or 80s. I think it was quite. I don't. There's probably not many now.
Yeah.
Even. And he made his money. And he also, the other shop ended up doing the same thing, and it ended up 50-50 European Afro hair salon.
So you followed his journey really.
Yeah, so I saw
entrepreneurship.
how I saw him taking some risks. I saw him being entrepreneurial. My grandfather also was pretty entrepreneurial as well. So I think I saw it in the family.
Yeah.
And my sister runs a business. I run a business now.
So
it's something in the family. And I've been employed. I didn't enjoy being employed. And so it just seems the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Start a business and see whether you can hack it.
Cool.
Or not.
So EOS,
Yes.
without all the jargon,
Yeah.
what is it?
EOS sorts out all the chaos
That we've just discussed.
and helps you manage all that human energy
Okay.
in your business. And so you need to, and really it's just about three things really. It's really just helping everybody, because as a founder, we're going somewhere. I think founders live in the future, most of them. So what's happening today doesn't matter so much. We're going, this is where we're going. And not all, but I think 95% of founders are accidental founders.
Yeah.
We're good at doing something. We get a few people together and we start selling some stuff. And before we know it, we've got like 10, 15 staff. So no one trains us how to run a business. And so first of all, you got to tell everyone about it. But you can't just tell them once in the pub. You got to give them a really clear vision and where you're going. And you hear that all the time. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't know if you've seen his thing on Netflix. He talks about vision the whole time. If you haven't watched it, got to watch it. Arnold, it's brilliant. He had 3 visions in his life. He wanted to be a Mr. Universe that he achieved. He wanted to be a movie star, not an actor.
Yeah.
Which he achieved. And I think he actually wanted to be president of America, but he couldn't because he wasn't born there. So he did the next best thing, became the governor of California.
Yeah.
So you've got to, articulate your vision. You've got to do it many times, and you've got to find people that want to come on that journey with you. And so my failing when I was running my last business is I never told anyone. I thought they all knew it.
Yeah.
Because I knew it.
Yeah. I do you know what? I suspect a lot of people are in that position.
Yeah.
Like, do we communicate it enough?
No.
Absolutely not.
No. So, lots of people write it down, share it once, put it in their drawer, and then the next year they go, oh, we better have a planning session for the year. So they get
that training session. We'll do that. We'll do that once a year. Yeah.
So you've got to do that. Then you've got to, once everybody knows that, you've got to get people executing on that with discipline and accountability. And that really is about creating crystal clear clarity for everybody about what their role is in the organization, and what they need to execute on, weekly. What does it mean for them to win the week? What do they need to get done this quarter to help us achieve this thing? And so once again, I wasn't giving my team clarity on their roles, because I would just meet people, go, oh, I like you.
Yeah,
you can
come
do so.
and
You
work.
can come and work for me. I didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah, come and work for me.
Come
You'll
on.
sound like.
Yeah, and actually that works at the beginning.
It does. This is the problem.
yeah.
The recruitment that you do when you're 3 or 4 staff
Yeah.
is very much about culture, getting on with
Yeah.
someone because you're kind of all pulling in the same direction.
Yeah.
But when you get to 20 staff, you're not working out with
No,
best
so
day-to-day.
it's great at the beginning. You know, you're like, oh yeah, he's a nice guy. Well, no, she seems brilliant. You know, let's get her in and we'll find something for her. So I wasn't creating clarity for people about what their role was, what they should be doing. And then as a team, we were dysfunctional because we just weren't very honest with each other. You know, I wasn't holding them accountable because I wasn't being accountable. You know, you talked about having those 10, 15 things to do.
Yeah.
So if I'm not getting this done,
Why should they?
Why should they?
Yeah.
You know, so it just snowballs, and all EOS does is give you a system to harmonize and orchestrate all that stuff. So as a leadership team, as an organization, you can spend all your effort just executing on your business rather than figuring out how to run it.
Cool. From an implementation perspective, then how do you, like, day one, week one? What does it look like?
Yeah. So first of all, I go and meet the team to see if they want it.
Which I guess if it's chaos, they'll all feel that chaos. They'll all feel it doesn't operate 100%.
Yeah.
Probably even not 90 or 80%.
Yeah, but not everybody wants
change.
Yeah, so I find 2 or 3 things happen when I go and meet, or maybe 4. So the first one would be when you have a sort of weak owner leader, so they want it, and I go and I'm not selling. I'm basically saying this is what utopia. You know, I've been through this. I know this works. This is how your life and your business could look like at the end of our journey. And, you know, I see, you know, I don't know how many of these meetings I've done. So many. I see in the room, and you have the owner that's like, you know, I've got to do this. You get 1 or 2 people in the room going, oh, I just wish we had a bit of vision, traction, and healthy. And then you get 1 or 2 in there that see they're going to get found out. They see that, you know, everything's going to be transparent. So all this work I haven't been doing because no one knows what's going on, I'm going to have to start working. And so they persuade the owner it's not the right time. So
it's really interesting.
So I see that. Then the other one is where the owner, where everybody or the team wants to do it, the owner doesn't want to let go. You know, so they're thinking, I'm going to give responsibility to all these people, and I'm going to allow them to make decisions without me. And they're like, I'm not ready for that.
Why do you think that is?
So that's a $6 million.
It's weird, isn't it? Because
question.
you've hired those people, so you should trust them.
Well, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, because they probably hired the wrong people.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can 100% blame those people for being wrong, because really the owner hired them, and the owner generally, you know, if let's not say owner, I can go back to myself. I hired them, and I wasn't giving them the right environment to flourish.
Yeah.
So I didn't trust them, but ultimately the reason I didn't trust them it always comes back to
You didn't trust yourself effectively.
I think I didn't trust myself to trust them.
Yeah. It's
a vicious circle.
Yeah, it is. It's such a, and like it's only probably 3 years since I was there as well, and I don't suspect there's many business owners that get through that completely, unless you can really, really scale, and even then your problems just change.
Yeah,
like I don't think you just like get around it. I think you just have to say, right, how do we move forward?
Yeah,
and you know what, the staff that gets you from 0 to 500,000 of revenue, probably not always the staff that are going to get you from 500,000 to 1 and 1 to 2 and 2 to like,
and that's tough.
Yeah, like, and we see this when we're acquiring, that some of the staff aren't where they should be anymore, and they're just not good enough, or they're just in the wrong role. Like when we have to either rejig them into different roles, different titles, and some resist it and some thrive in it, and it is just a tough one, and it all feeds back to the owners and founders, and you know, no one teaches you how to recruit. No one teaches you how to lead. Those I know there's leadership courses and all of that, but generally, especially if you
day in and day out,
you fall into that ownership perspective. Like I never started my business to have 77 staff. Like it was a side hustle to pay for us to go on stupid holidays. That is literally what we started for. I got unfairly dismissed from the job I was in, and I thought, well, I need to make an income. I'm just going to go and sell some SIM cards to some customers. I'm going to make a bit of money. That'll pay the bills. We can go on holiday, job done. 10 years later. Accidental, yeah.
Entrepreneur.
10 years later.
Yeah.
And 77 staff and 15 million of revenue. Yeah. It was not supposed to be what it is today.
No.
And no one teaches you the growth, the leadership, the accounts and stuff that you need to know, the regulatory stuff. You kind of have to fumble through it.
Yeah.
And that's an awful learning curve, because you end up going, oh well, I don't want to do that, but you have to do it.
But you did really well, because you're sort of the 5% of entrepreneurs that figure this out. But you don't have to, because you can just implement EOS, or as I say to all, and I said this to you on the phone the other day, all entrepreneurs, you know, there's a few business operating systems out there. Just choose one, anyone, doesn't matter. They're all based on the same sort of principles. Get one, stick to it. It's going to help you build the foundations for you. So going back to my crazy ideas about, you know, trying to fix things with sales and marketing, and then ISO stuff and all this stuff, is if you haven't got the foundations, you can't build on it, and you don't know, you know, if you're hiring a marketing specialist, if they don't know where the business is going, what you're selling and what your ideal client is, they can't build on that.
Yeah, what do they market?
Yeah. Who are they marketing to? And so, you know, even in my tech business, I used to go into companies and they used to say, we need new technology. And I used to say to, you know, these were companies 20 to 50 staff. I said, well, what are you trying to achieve for your business? And they're like, well, we just want to grow. I'm like, well, okay, well, what technology do you need to grow? And you know, there's no connection.
Yeah.
And so everything you do in business has got to be built on a foundation of where the business is going and how you're going to get there. And then you can start, you know, layering on the people, the services, and everything to help you achieve what you're all trying to achieve.
Yeah. It's interesting you said that, because I think AI is there at the moment where everyone's like, I need AI in the business.
Yes.
Gotta have AI. We need to automate.
Yeah.
But what do you want it to do? Don't know.
Yeah.
Well, where's the pain? Not sure. But I feel like we need to work out what the issue is before we can work out how we automate it.
Exactly.
But like, it feels like in the AI space, especially in the IT sector at the moment, no one really knows the tangible way of selling AI, because everyone just goes, well, I need it.
Yeah.
And there's this big rush at the moment just to sign up to do anything. So let's just get it in, because I need to report back to the board or report back to whoever
that I'm doing.
We're now AI enabled.
Exactly.
And it's like, well,
exactly.
Like, it just feels like people don't have those foundations right of actually what is the pain, what is
what's stopping us getting from, we this is our vision, we want to get here, what's stopping us getting from here to here? And what's going to fix that? Maybe it's people, maybe it's AI, but you got to know exactly, got to know what the issue is.
What does a business look like when EOS is kind of implemented and working properly?
So there are 6 parts, we call them components to EOS. There's the vision component, getting everybody on the same page with where you're going, how you plan to get there. There's people, we call it right people, right seats. So this is, when you're doing the acquisitions, it's, do you have the right people that share your culture, and are they in the right role that's going to help you get your business where you want to get it? Data, running your business on, some, not always, you've got to use your gut occasionally, on good data rather than feelings and egos and emotions that often drive decision making. I was certainly guilty of that. Issues, getting your issues out there, creating a culture where everybody feels comfortable, pointing your issues up before they become really big issues that are going to affect your clients, and then solving them more effectively. Process, the number of businesses and my business again, systemizing your business to create scalability and increase profit, make it more manageable. And then how are you going to execute on that? What are you going to do every 90 days? And how are you meeting effectively as a team every week? Okay. I see so many businesses where they've got a leadership team and they don't meet every week. And they don't meet every week because their meetings got boring and ineffective. So having effective, productive meetings every week. And so we go on a journey to strengthen these 6 key components. And so if you do this right, the utopia, and we never quite get to utopia. I mean, there's no such thing as utopia in business. But the utopia is you've got an organization where everybody in your business shares your vision. And we call it shared by all, not shared with all. So you've got to get them to really want to be part of it. And that's difficult. It takes time. You've got the right people in the right seats. So, I believe that culture equals values plus behavior. And, I see so many times values, companies have values. They tend to be marketing values like, we're sustainable.
Good customer service.
Good customer service. That they aren't values. Values are how you want your people to behave. And so, you've got to build a business where everybody shares the same values. So you want to be together as people. But they've got to be in the right seats. So they've got to be really great at their job, and they've got to want to do their job. So that getting the right people in the right seat, running your business on data every day, so everybody knows what it means to win the week.
Yeah.
And so this is, data's not something to beat your. I don't like calling them KPIs. So people call them KPIs, key performance indicators. We call it a scorecard of measurables, because it's all about gamifying business. And when you watch sport, you've always got a scoreboard. So what does it mean for Bob or Joe to win the week? What does he have to do?
What should be on that scorecard?
So it depends on the function. So sales is fairly easy. Leading indicators, for sales, it's number of meetings you've done, the number of proposals and the values of proposals you sent out. Marketing is also quite easy. What's the activity you're doing? Because if you do the right activity every week, it's a little bit like training or losing weight. You've got a goal to lose weight or to put on muscle mass. Well, if you don't do the activities every week, you're never going to get there. Yeah. So it's what do they have to do now in operations? It could be you've got to figure out what is the goal of this delivery function. And so it could be happy customers. So I did have one a retail company I was working with, and they were trying to figure out how can they measure how well their staff are doing in in their shops. And so they couldn't measure them on footfall because they had no control over how many people were coming in. But they really wanted to make sure that everybody had a great experience. And so they started measuring, giving their staff targets on the amount of people they made smile during the week. You know, so everybody had a target of the amount of people they made smile. And so that, you know, meant that they had happy customers, which meant that they had more revisits from the customers. And so you really got to try and get it down to what are those little things you have to do every week.
What behavior are we trying to drive?
What behavior are we trying to drive? Yeah.
How the hell did they report on how many smiles they had?
They self-reported,
right? Okay.
You know, so there's an element of trust, but you've got to trust but verify. You know, so the manager was just noting down, you know, not all the time, but every now and then, just noting down, just to make sure they lined up. But you could also tell that, you know, if that wasn't going on, the lagging indicators showed a downward turn. So there was a direct correlation between the two.
Cool. Is there any other examples where it's kind of where you've had companies go from being really chaotic, implementing the process, and then coming out the other side of it?
Yeah, I mean, literally, look, not every implementation works.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'd be crazy if I sat here and said this. You know, first of all, the owner's got to want to do it, like I said before, and the team have got to be committed to it. If they're not committed, there's zero chance of success. So the ones that do succeed, all the owners talk about getting their life back. They all talk about, and I talk to myself about this, about myself as well, about the weight. You know, pre-EOS and implementing EOS, they felt like the weight was on their shoulders.
Yeah.
So that sort of weight coming off their shoulders and the leadership team starting to take accountability and responsibility, so that the pressure is spread. They talk about their home life, how that is better, and most of them have got more revenue and more profit. So as long as you're committed to it, this shit, it works.
Yeah,
it works, and it's not too much. It really is the minimum that every business should do. You know, have a vision, execute with discipline and accountability, and create healthy teams.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I've been doing this 7 years now. I've worked with 50 teams. I've done about 370 full day sessions with leadership teams. So I've seen it all. No, not all of it. I'm sure there's more crazy stuff to come because crazy stuff does happen.
Yeah, I bet it does.
In the session room. But I really feel honored and blessed that I actually feel I've found my vocation in life. You know, I ran these businesses, and it was only when I implemented the EOS that I really started enjoying it, because I was no longer, you know, the main person in the business. And now I just get to help other entrepreneurs, and it's you know, to see the journey they go on is just amazing.
Yeah. Why do you think founders struggle to get the right people in the right seats?
2 reasons. One, they don't define what the right people are.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, the right people are people that share your values, behavioral values. So they don't do that. They don't do that simple bit of work as a leadership team to figure out what the right person is. And then they don't have a process for ensuring that those people are consistently exhibiting those values, and then they're not using their values to hire and fire and reward and recognize their people. So first of all, you've got to define them. So that's the first thing. Right seats, you know, that's the second thing. is, once again, people build organizational charts, which is great, gives you a little bit of structure, but an organizational chart doesn't define clear accountability. And so by using what we call an accountability chart in EOS, we define a seat and we define what the seat is accountable for. And so if you don't, and what most entrepreneurs is they do what I call hiring based on people first, structure second. So they hire people and then try and fit them in to the business.
Yeah.
Whereas you really got to be, and I think this is one of the things with EOS, is that EOS is about running your business with intent. Okay, you are defining where you're going. You're defining this, and you're not looking too far ahead. This is the right structure, and this is the best and simplest structure with the seats to take us to the next level. When you've got that, you then put people in seats, so what they're great at, what they love to do, what they can consistently execute on, matches the right people in the right seats. And so you've got to be very deliberate about getting the right people in the right seats. And when you do that, if you find that you've got, say, because you end up with two very distinct people issues when you do this, where you got one where you got the right person in the wrong seat. So this is someone you love. They're great to be around, but they're just shit at it.
Just not the right role, is it?
Not in the right role. And like your company with 77 people, hopefully you can find them a seat that they're great at.
Yeah.
But in a for-profit organization, you can't keep them around just because you like spending time with them. And then we've all had the other one where we've got the wrong person in the right seat, someone that's highly productive, they're hitting their numbers, but they just don't fit your culture. And they're like a terrorist in your business. They're digging away at your culture right now. They're doing you more harm than good. They're going to kill you in the long run. So you've got to make a change. And and then the worst one is you've got the wrong person in the wrong seat. I mean, but when you have those issues and you solve them and you remove that person from the seat and you put the right person in the right seat, it's like having three people.
Yeah, like productivity goes through the roof.
Yeah, it goes through the roof because they get the role, they really want to do it, and I mean genuinely want to do it, and they have the skills to do it, and they're nice to be around because they fit your culture, and it's just so powerful when you get that right.
I feel part of that, and you kind of touched on it, on the role itself. In a small business, I think it's really difficult to say this is the exact role, because I think if you've got 10, 15 staff, there's never quite one role, is it?
Yeah.
It's you're doing finance, but can you do HR while you're here? Can you oversee this? And you're ops, but can you do that?
I think that's great, and that's the reality.
Yeah.
But you still need to define accountability. So even though you might be you're in a sales seat, so you might be accountable for new business revenue. That doesn't mean that you might not be helping out on some other stuff in delivery because you just don't have enough people in the business. But who is the one person who is going to be accountable for new business revenue? That's what you've got to figure out, so that if it's not working, who do you go to? And how do you help them and support them with the rest of the team to make that happen?
I guess that's really easy in a sales role, because it's you need to sell.
Yeah.
Go and sell.
Yeah.
If you don't sell, you're accountable. Yeah. You're probably out the door.
Yeah.
If it's more operational, what does that accountability look like? Yeah.
So a typical operations seat in a business. So the head of the function. They would be accountable for delivery of the product or service, maybe customer satisfaction, maybe accounts management, process potentially. So you can really define, what are the 5 or 6 high level things that they're really.
So it's kind of drawing it back to the data point and saying, how do we know that this role is successful? and then tying it back to the data to make them accountable.
Yeah, so you go, this is what they're accountable for, and then so what are the weekly what are the weekly activities that mean that this function has won the week?
Yeah.
So 0 complaints from clients could be one. It could be a NPS score. It could be high utilization of the team's time.
Yeah.
If you're selling time, it could be, if it's manufacturing, it could be minimum waste. How much wastage is there? So you can end up with 3 or 4 key weekly measurables that really define whether the function is succeeding or not, and whether the person is succeeding or not.
Awesome. What's the biggest lie founders tell themselves?
The biggest lie?
Yeah, you've seen a load. Like, what's the biggest issue there?
Biggest lie is I've got the right people on my leadership team.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess that's quite a long-term thing to sort out as well, because you don't want to rip your leadership team apart.
Yeah.
But I guess the founder has to realise that themselves. Sometimes you can't always tell them that straight to their face, because they're trusting those people in the leadership team.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's part of the EOS process, is creating, there's nowhere to hide. You know, like, people that don't like accountability will not succeed in a business running on EOS. So it becomes apparent. So they're delusional to start with. They see that, but then the biggest lie sort of beyond that is, we can change this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one is, these are great people. They're all perfect. You know, we don't need to change anything. Then there's a realization that, okay, we haven't got the right people in the right seats at the leadership team. And then there's, well, we can change it around. Never works.
Okay.
Never works. Occasionally.
What happens if the founder won't change?
EOS doesn't work. Yeah.
What do they do then?
Well, they just go back to
the chaos.
They go back to their old ways. I mean, they take bits of it. So, because what they'll find is they'll like bits of it, because if you use some of the tools in the wrong way, it gives you more control.
Yeah.
so the idea is, you use the tools in the right way. It gives people the ability to have, I think this was Daniel Pink in his book, I think it was Focus. He talks people need 3 things to be successful within your business. They need mastery of their role. They need autonomy to make decisions, and they need purpose, which is, where's the business going? So EOS gives you all that stuff, but if you use it wrong, you can take that away and use it to control people. And then everything, you can use everything in the wrong way.
Can it fix a broken culture, do you think?
Yes. Once again, as long as the leader, the owner, wants to fix the culture. So all these things, it can fix them as long as you want to fix them.
Yeah.
We go through an exercise as part of the process of, as a leadership team, defining the values. And then we have tools to help them, not just put the values up on the wall. You've got to actually live and breathe these values. You've got to hold people accountable for them. You've got to have meaningful adult conversations where they're falling short, and also reward them when they're exhibiting the values. And also, when you've got people in your business that are consistently not exhibiting your core values, doing something about it, because if you don't, you're going to get what I call ethical fading, where the values become meaningless. And I think one of the really important things with EOS or any business operating system is, when you do this and you set down your vision, you set down being disciplined to focus, you set down your core values, the rest of your business is watching you as a owner and as a leadership team. And they're watching you to slip up, because you've tried 20 other things beforehand.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be committed to this, and you've got to show them consistently our values mean something. Discipline and focus means something, because if you don't, they're not going to.
Final one then. You talked about rewarding them. How I struggle with this, because every time you try and say, how do we reward the staff, they all go, well, I'll have a pay rise, please. And I don't blame them for it, absolutely not. Yeah. But from an experience that you've done, like, what other ways are there to reward staff when they're performing strongly?
Yeah. So I think first thing, you've got to take the money thing away. You know, you've got to compensate people appropriately for their role. If you don't do that, you know, if you're paying them under market value, reward and recognition is not going to work.
Yeah.
So you've got to take that away. Then there's a great quote by Napoleon. He said, you can't pay someone to go, I don't know, it's not exactly, but you can't pay someone to go to war for you, but they'll gladly do so for a bit of yellow ribbon. So we were talking about the yellow ribbon here. And so recognition in front of one's peers, once you take the money thing away, can be so much more powerful than money. You know, using the core values, you know, so calling out people that are exhibiting the core values. I've seen people have a wheel of fortune thing when someone gets called out, they spin the wheel and they get a little prize of someone, but that's done in front of everyone. You know, there can be money involved, you know, like a £50 voucher or something like that. But, you know, really rewarding and recognizing people when they're sharing the values consistently, when they're hitting their numbers every week, and when they're achieving at least 80% of their rocks. Rocks are what we call 90-day business priorities. You know, giving their manager the ability to do these ad hoc things can be really powerful.
Just saying thank you.
Saying thank you. Thank you for exhibiting this value last week, whatever the value is. You know, great job. You know, the last quarter, you hit your rocks, you hit all of your weekly measurables. We'd like to thank you for that. You know, here's dinner for you and your wife, or
amazing,
or something like that.
Cool. It's been really enlightening today.
Great.
I feel like it's been a coaching session. Just
good,
for me,
good.
Which is always good. As we get to the end, we do kind of 5 or 6 quick fire questions. Yep. All right. So, not got long, but just rapid answers, really.
Yeah.
Biggest business lesson you ever had?
Biggest business lesson. So many. I'm going to go back to the one I said, get out there.
Face to face.
Get out there, face to face. You know, we're in especially now, it's so easy to hide. Get out there, network, and spend time with your peers. You know, because running a business, there's other people that are going through the same problems you're going through.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Worst decision or one thing you'd change?
Business or not business?
Either, both.
Not business, not doing a ski season when I was younger. But there's still time. There's still time. It's on my 3-year picture to do a ski season. So there's still time. And business, worst decision. Worst decision was with my last business. And this is a whole different podcast we could do, is having a business partner, one of the business partners that's a narcissist.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that one. We'll definitely do another session on it. But if there's any ski slopes that need EOS, you're more than willing to go.
I'm more than willing,
right,
yeah.
We'll send this out.
Yeah.
And then last 2, advice for a 20-year-old you.
Advice for a 20-year-old. Retraction.
Read it earlier.
Read Traction.
Good.
Would have saved me so much pain.
Which kind of answers the last one,
Yeah.
which was best book you've ever read.
Traction.
There we go.
Traction by Gino Wickman.
We'll get that in the notes so everyone else can read it.
Yeah.
Jason, it's been a pleasure today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Awesome.